Admiral Han Tay stood at the window of Earth Central Command, looking at the star-filled sky. It was hard to believe that just 15 years ago, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now Earth was part of something called the Galactic Council, a group of over 100 alien species that controlled the stars. Han turned away from the window when he heard the door open. 5 people walked in, all wearing the dark blue uniforms of Earth's Unified Defense Force. They looked worried, and Han knew why. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived 3 hours ago, and it changed everything. "Is it true?" asked General Li Hyun, his face pale. "They want our people?" Han nodded. "The Council demands 10% of our population as tribute workers. That's over 800 million humans." Defense Minister Kim Ju slammed her hand on the table. She was an older woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many wars on Earth before the aliens came. "This is slavery," she said. "They're asking for slaves." The room fell silent. On the large screen behind Han, the recorded message from the council representative still played with no sound. The alien was tall with blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. It looked almost peaceful as it explained how Earth would be destroyed if they did not obey. "They're giving us 1 week to comply," Han said. "The council ships are already in orbit. Their weapons are aimed at our major cities." Dr. Park Woo adjusted his glasses. As Earth's chief expert on alien cultures, his opinion mattered most right now. "According to their message, this is normal procedure," Park said. "Every new species that joins the council must provide workers to show their commitment. It's been their way for thousands of years. Can we fight them?" asked Colonel Yoon Min, head of Earth's Space Defense Fleet. Han shook his head. "Their ships outnumber ours 50 to 1. Their weapons can crack our planet open like an egg. We've seen what they did to the Centauri colonies when they rebelled last year." The room grew quiet again as everyone remembered the images of destroyed planets that once held human colonies. The Centauri settlers had refused council demands. Now they were just floating rocks in space. "So we just give up?" Kim Ju asked. "Hand over our people to be slaves on alien worlds?" Han looked at each person in the room. These were Earth's defenders, the best minds humanity had to offer. Each had fought to protect Earth during the difficult years after first contact. Each had helped build the fragile peace that now existed between humans and aliens. "I need to show you something," Han said. He pressed a button and the screen changed to show a different image. It was a detailed map of council space, hundreds of worlds connected by lines that represented travel routes. Red dots marked military bases. Blue dots showed mining operations. Green marked farming worlds. "For 15 years we've been gathering information," Han explained. "While the council thought we were just learning to be good members, we were studying their weaknesses." Colonel Yoon looked surprised. "I wasn't aware of this operation." "Very few people were," Han replied. "President Choi authorized it after our first meeting with the council. She suspected this day might come." Dr. Park stepped closer to the screen, examining the map. "The council has always underestimated humans. They think we're young and primitive. They don't understand that our history of war and survival has prepared us for threats like this." Han nodded. "They see our short lives and think we lack patience. They see our divisions and think we lack unity. They're wrong." He pressed another button and the image changed again. This time it showed technical plans for what looked like human bodies. "What are we looking at?" asked General Lee. "Project Trojan," Han answered. "For the past 5 years, Dr. Bei Jin and her team have been perfecting humanoid robots that can pass as real people. They have synthetic skin, artificial blood, and programming that mimics human behavior perfectly." Understanding dawned on Kim Ju's face. "You want to send robots instead of real people?" "Exactly," Han said. "The council has agreed not to perform invasive scans on the tribute workers. Basic respect for human dignity, they called it." He laughed, without humor. "That gives us an opportunity." "How many of these robots do we have?" asked Colonel Yoon. "Not enough," Han admitted. "But the factories on Luna can produce thousands per day if we give them the resources." We need to convince the Council we're preparing our population for selection while we build our real response. And what happens when these robots are among them? General Lee asked. Han's face grew serious. Each unit will contain specialized programming and technology. They'll work as expected, gathering information and waiting. Then, when we give the signal, they'll access key systems throughout Council space. Defense networks, communication arrays, transportation hubs, everything. You're talking about taking the entire Council hostage, Kim Ju said quietly. Han nodded. Not to destroy them, but to force negotiations, to end the tribute system once and for all. And if it fails? Asked Dr. Park. Then we implement Plan Omega, Han said grimly. We've been secretly building colony ships. If this plan fails, we evacuate as many humans as possible to systems beyond Council space. We start over. The room was silent as everyone considered the stakes. Billions of human lives against the anger of a galactic empire thousands of years old. The Council believes we'll submit because we fear death, Han continued. They don't understand that humans have always been willing to risk everything for freedom. General Lee straightened his uniform. I spent 20 years fighting other humans before the aliens came. I never thought I'd see Earth truly united, but this threat... He nodded firmly. You have my support, Admiral. One by one, the others voiced their agreement. The plan was dangerous, but it was better than submission. Better than watching their people become slaves. Contact President Choi, Han ordered. Tell her Operation Trojan is ready to begin. And inform Dr. Bay that she'll have every resource she needs. As the others left to carry out their orders, Han turned back to the window. The stars looked different to him now. Not distant and unreachable, but future battlegrounds where humanity would fight for its place in the galaxy. You demanded tribute, he said quietly to the alien ships he knew were orbiting above. You'll get it, just not the way you expected. In the darkness of space, the Council ships waited, unaware that the simple humans they thought to enslave were about to change the galaxy forever. The massive production facility on the far side of the moon hummed with activity. Normally hidden from Earth's view, the secret base stretched across 10 square kilometers of lunar surface, buried beneath the gray dust. 5 years ago, it had been nothing but empty craters. Now it was humanity's greatest hope. Dr. Bei Jin stood on the observation platform, watching the assembly lines below. Thousands of human-shaped forms moved through different stages of production. Some were just metal skeletons. Others were already covered in synthetic skin that looked perfectly real. In the final section, finished androids walked, talked, and behaved exactly like humans. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Han Tae said as he joined her at the railing. He had arrived from Earth just an hour ago, his shuttle making the journey in record time. We've increased production by 300%, Bay replied. The new fabrication units you authorized are working perfectly. We're completing 1,000 units every day now. Han nodded, his eyes moving over the massive facility. Will it be enough? We need at least 800,000 to make the plan work. At current rates, we'll have them in about 2.5 months, Bay said. But I've requested more resources from the asteroid mining operations. If they deliver, we might reach our goal in less time. They watched in silence as a group of completed androids was loaded into a transport vehicle. Each one looked completely human. Men and women of different ages and appearances, all designed to pass as regular people. The Council representatives arrive in 3 days, Han said. The President will stall them as long as possible, but eventually we'll need to start loading humans onto their ships. Bay smiled. Not humans, just very convincing copies. She led Han down from the platform and through a series of secure doors until they reached a special testing area. Inside, a dozen androids sat at tables, eating food, chatting, and behaving exactly like people taking a lunch break. Watch this, Bay said. She pressed a button on her control pad and a team of security officers entered the room. They carried scanning equipment similar to what the Council ships used. Attention, everyone, the lead officer announced. Random. Security check. Please remain seated while we scan for prohibited items. The androids looked up with expressions of mild annoyance or curiosity. Some sighed. One woman rolled her eyes. As the officers moved among them with scanning devices, the androids continued eating and talking quietly. They show appropriate stress responses, Bay explained. Slightly elevated heart rate, minor perspiration, pupil dilation, all the things a real human would experience during a surprise inspection. Han was impressed. And the scanners? They detect everything you'd expect in a human: body heat, heartbeat, blood flow, brain activity. The synthetic organs are perfect copies down to the cellular level. The officers finished their scans and left the room. Not one of them had realized they were checking machines, not people. What about the special modifications? Han asked in a lower voice. Bay led him to another area, this one with much tighter security. Inside was a single android, deactivated, and lying on a metal table. Its chest was open, revealing the complex machinery inside. This is our final design, Bay said. She pointed to a small device near where the heart would be. This contains the infiltration software. Once activated, it can interface with any council technology and override their systems. Each unit is also equipped with quantum communication capabilities. When we send the signal, they'll all activate simultaneously, no matter how far apart they are. And weapons? Han asked. No conventional weapons, Bay replied. We can't risk them being detected, but each android can reconfigure its internal structure. Their hands can become tools for accessing secure systems. They're stronger than humans, faster and nearly impossible to destroy without specialized equipment. Han studied the android carefully. They look so real. They have to be, Bay said. The council can't suspect anything until it's too late. They left the secure area and took a small transport to another section of the lunar base. This part was newer, with construction still ongoing. This is where we're preparing the actual ships, Bay explained as they entered a massive hangar. Inside were dozens of large transport vessels, each capable of carrying thousands of passengers. Workers swarmed over them, installing equipment and running tests. These will carry the androids to the council pickup points, she continued. We've modified them to match exactly what they're expecting. And Plan Omega? Han asked. B's expression grew more serious. Follow me. They took another transport, this one traveling deeper beneath the lunar surface. After passing through multiple security checkpoints, they reached a vast underground chamber. Inside were 10 enormous ships, each at least 5 times larger than the transports they had just seen. Colony ships, Han said quietly. Each one can carry 100,000 people in cryosleep, Bay confirmed. They have enough supplies to reach systems beyond council space, beyond their sensors. If Operation Trojan fails, these ships will save as many humans as possible. Let's hope we don't need them, Han said. They returned to the main facility where Bay showed Han the command center. Dozens of technicians worked at control stations, monitoring every aspect of the operation. We're also working on the androids' memories and personalities, Bay explained. Each one has a complete human background: family history, education, work experience. If the council questions them, they'll have consistent answers. What about their awareness? Han asked. Do they know what they are? Most don't, Bay said. They believe they're human volunteers. Only the command units know the truth. We found it creates more authentic behavior. Han watched as a group of completed androids boarded a shuttle for training exercises. They moved and interacted exactly like humans, showing emotions, forming relationships, behaving in all ways like the people they were created to imitate. It's remarkable, Han said. In creating these machines to save humanity, we may have created a new form of life. That's a question for after we survive this crisis, Bay replied. As they prepared to leave, Han took one last look at the production floor. How many are complete now? 30,000, Bay answered. Enough for the first shipment to the council, Han nodded, his face determined. Then Operation Trojan begins. Send word to President Choi. Tell her we're ready for Phase 1. As their shuttle departed from the lunar base, Han looked back at the seemingly barren surface of the moon. Beneath that gray dust, humanity was building its salvation, and perhaps the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. The Council had demanded tribute. Soon they would get more than they ever bargained for. The Council ships arrived on the 7th day. Massive and gleaming, they descended from the stars like metal mountains. The largest vessel was 20 kilometers long, big enough to hold an entire city. 5 smaller ships surrounded it, each still larger than anything humans had built. President Choi Min stood on the special platform constructed for this moment. Around her were Earth's most important leaders, all dressed in formal clothes to meet the aliens. Behind them, a crowd of what appeared to be thousands of human volunteers waited to board the ships. They looked nervous but determined. Admiral Han Tae stood beside the president watching the sky. He knew that most people on Earth were also watching through screens in their homes. They had been told that these volunteers were going to work for the Council to ensure Earth's safety. Only a small number of people knew the truth. "They're right on time," Han said quietly. "Aliens who rule the galaxy tend to be punctual," President Choi replied. Despite the serious situation, she managed a small smile. The largest ship settled into position above the platform. It hovered silently, showing the amazing technology that made the Council so powerful. A beam of blue light appeared, touching down on a circular area nearby. Within the light, shapes began to form. 5 aliens materialized on the platform. 4 of them were tall guards with scaled skin and weapons attached to their arms. The 5th was Supreme Counselor Vex of the Aldarian Hegemony, the official representative of the Galactic Council. Vex was blue-skinned with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. He wore flowing robes decorated with symbols of his rank. When he spoke, his voice was translated by a small device at his throat. "Greetings, President Choi of Earth," Vex said. His voice sounded almost friendly, but his eyes were cold. "I am pleased to see you have prepared the first tribute shipment as required." President Choi stepped forward and bowed slightly, just enough to be polite without seeming afraid. "Supreme Counselor Vex, Earth acknowledges the Council's authority. In this matter," she said, "we have selected our finest citizens to serve the greater galactic community." Vex looked past her at the waiting humans. "They appear suitable. We will begin loading immediately." Admiral Han stepped forward. "Supreme Counselor, we request that you inspect the tribute to confirm they meet your standards." This was a crucial moment. If Vex decided to use deep scanning technology, the plan would fail. But Han and his team had studied Council protocols carefully. They knew that such scans were considered disrespectful during tribute ceremonies. Vex looked annoyed but nodded. "A brief inspection will be conducted." He walked with his guards toward the waiting group. The first row of humans looked nervous as the aliens approached. One young woman appeared to be fighting back tears. "State your name and function," Vex commanded, stopping before her. "Kim Ji," the woman replied, her voice shaking slightly. "I worked as a quantum engineering specialist at Seoul University." Vex seemed pleased. "Excellent. Technical skills are valued by the Council." He moved down the line, questioning several more humans. Each gave perfect responses, showing appropriate fear mixed with resignation. None revealed the truth, that they were advanced androids built in the secret lunar facility. After inspecting 20 individuals, Vex returned to where President Choi and Admiral Han waited. "These specimens are adequate," the alien declared. "They will serve the greater glory of the Council well." "We are honored to contribute to galactic stability," Han said, bowing with practiced humility. Vex raised his hand, and more beams of light appeared. "Loading will commence now." The first group of humans was guided into the light beams. They disappeared, transported onto the waiting ships. More groups followed, a steady stream of Earth's supposed tribute being taken to the stars. From a secure room beneath the platform, Dr. Bei-jin watched on monitors as her creations performed perfectly. Each android moved and reacted exactly like a human. Some cried. Others looked back at Earth one last time. A few waved to the cameras, pretending to say goodbye to families who didn't exist. Phase 1 proceeding as planned, she spoke into her communication device. No signs of detection. In another secure location thousands of kilometers away, General Lee Hyun monitored the real evacuation. Deep underground bunkers around the world were being prepared. If Operation Trojan failed, millions of humans would need to hide until the colony ships could take them away from Earth. Evacuation centers at 60% readiness, Lee reported. Defense systems at full alert. Back on the platform, President Choi maintained a solemn expression as she watched the loading continue. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky. Still the androids streamed onto the council ships. Your cooperation is noted and will be remembered, Vex said as the last group prepared to board. The council expects the next shipment in 3 months. Over time, all required tribute will be collected. We understand, President Choi replied. Earth will continue to fulfill its obligations. When the final android disappeared into the transport beam, Vex gave a formal nod. The first collection is complete. Your world is safe for now. Serve the council well and prosperity will follow. With those words, Vex and his guards returned to their beam of light and vanished. Slowly, the massive ships began to rise back toward space. President Choi, Admiral Han, and the other human leaders maintained their positions until the ships disappeared from view. Only then did they allow themselves to relax slightly. It worked, Defense Minister Kim Joo said quietly. They didn't detect anything. That was just the first test, Han replied. Now we wait to see if the androids function as planned once they're distributed throughout council space. The official ceremony concluded. The world's leaders returned to their countries, each carrying the knowledge of what really happened. To the public, it appeared that Earth had submitted to the council's demands. News reports showed the brave volunteers departing, with promises that they would be treated well. In her private office in the underground command center, President Choi removed her formal jacket and sat heavily in her chair. Admiral Han and Dr. Bei joined her, along with the other key members of Operation Trojan. 30,000 androids are now in council hands, Bei reported. Each one is transmitting data back to us through quantum channels the council can't detect. We're already learning more about their ships, their security, their communication systems. How long until the next phase? President Choi asked. 3 months, Han answered. By then we'll have delivered over 100,000 units to key locations throughout council space. The androids in this first group will help us identify the most important targets. And the people? Choi asked. How are they handling the news that we've sent machines instead of humans? Most are relieved, Kim Joo replied. Some are still frightened. The council ships made quite an impression, but overall, morale is holding. Choi nodded and looked at the star map displayed on her wall. Somewhere out there, humanity's android creations were infiltrating the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known. We've taken the first step, she said. But the hardest part is still ahead. If the council discovers what we've done before we're ready, they won't, Han assured her. The androids are perfect. And even if they find 1 or 2, they'll never discover them all in time. Choi looked at each person in the room. Then, we continue as planned. The council demanded tribute. We'll give them something they'll never forget. 3 months passed. In that time, 2 more shipments of androids left Earth for council space. Each time, Supreme Counselor Vex or another high-ranking alien came to oversee the loading. Each time, they left satisfied, unaware that not a single, real human had been taken. In the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Han Tae studied the massive holographic display that dominated the room. It showed a map of council space with thousands of small lights representing each android. They were spread across hundreds of worlds now, placed in mines, factories, research centers, and even on military vessels. The distribution is better than we hoped, Han said to President Choi, who stood beside him. They've placed our units in every critical system. They trust their own superiority too much, Choi replied. It never occurred to them that a primitive species like humans could challenge them. Dr. Bei Jin approached with a data tablet. The final reports are in. All androids are functioning perfectly. None have been detected. They're gathering more information than we ever expected. Han nodded. And Plan Omega? The colony ships are ready, General Lee reported from across the room. If this fails, we can evacuate 20 million people immediately. Not enough, but better than nothing. President Choi looked at the faces around her. For 3 months these people had worked, without rest, preparing for this moment. The fate of humanity rested on their plan. Are we ready? She asked. Han took a deep breath. As ready as we'll ever be. The longer we wait, the more likely the Council will discover our deception. Choi nodded. Then it's time. Begin operation. Trojan. Han stepped to a special console and placed his palm on the scanner. A small compartment opened, revealing a red button protected by a clear shield. Sending activation signal now, he said, lifting the shield and pressing the button. Across thousands of light years, in every corner of Council space, the androids received the coded transmission. Their programming shifted seamlessly from passive observation to active infiltration. In that instant, humanity launched the most coordinated attack the galaxy had ever seen. On the Council capital world of Nexus Prime, an android designated Worker Unit 12986 was cleaning the Central Defense Headquarters. The android, originally programmed with the identity of Kim Ji, paused as the signal reached her. Her eyes flickered momentarily, and then she moved with new purpose toward a restricted computer terminal. Her hand transformed, fingers extending into thin metal probes that perfectly matched the computer's access ports. Within seconds, she had bypassed the security and begun uploading the special program hidden within her systems. Similar scenes played out across Council space as thousands of androids simultaneously accessed key systems. Defense grids, communication networks, transportation hubs, power plants, all fell under human control in less than an hour. In the High Council chamber itself, an android serving drinks to the assembled alien leaders suddenly straightened and walked to the main security control. Before the guards could react, it had locked down the entire building, trapping the Council's ruling body inside. Back on Earth, the command center erupted in activity as data flooded in from the androids. Defense systems across Council space are under our control, reported Colonel Yoon. Their weapons have been deactivated. Communication network secured, said another officer. We can broadcast to every world in Council territory. Transportation. Systems locked down, added a third. No Council ships can leave port without our authorization. Han looked at the display as more and more systems turned green, indicating human control. It's working even better than we expected. On the main screen, a message appeared from an android placed in the Council's central government building. High Council secured, awaiting instructions. President Choi stepped forward. Open a channel to the High Council chamber. Technicians worked quickly. Soon, the large screen showed the interior of the Council chamber. Over 100 alien representatives from different species sat at a circular table. They looked confused and frightened. At the center stood Supreme Counselor Vex, his blue face now pale with shock. What is the meaning of this? Vex demanded when he saw President Choi's face on his own screens. How are you accessing our secure channels? Supreme Counselor, Choi replied calmly. I'm contacting you to discuss new terms for Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council. Vex's four eyes widened. You dare to threaten the Council? Your primitive weapons cannot reach us. Across the void of space. We don't need weapons to reach you, Choi said. We're already there. At that moment, several Council staff members stepped forward and stood at attention. Their faces changed, skin rippling to reveal the metallic surfaces beneath. They were androids, revealing their true nature. Impossible, Vex whispered. 3 months ago you came to Earth demanding human tribute, Choi continued. We gave you exactly what you asked for, just not in the way you expected. Every human you've received has been an android of our creation. They are now in control of your key systems throughout Council space. The aliens in the Council chamber looked at each other in horror as they realized the extent of the human deception. This is an act of war, Vex shouted. No, Choi corrected him. Your demand for slave labor was an act of war. This is our response. Admiral, Han stepped into view beside the president. Every defense system, every weapon, every ship in your fleet is now under our control. We could destroy the Council completely if we wished. But that's not our goal, Choi added. Unlike you, we don't seek to dominate or enslave. We want peace. Real peace, based on equality and respect. She nodded to Han, who transmitted a document to the Council chamber. These are our terms. The tribute system ends immediately. All current tributes from all species are to be returned to their homeworlds. Earth will take a full seat on the Council with equal voting rights, and a new charter will be drafted that prohibits forced labor of any kind. Vex seemed unable to speak. Another Council member, a tall being with insect-like features, rose to address Choi. You expect us to simply surrender to these demands? The Council has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. And perhaps it's time for change, Choi replied. You have one standard day to consider our terms. During that time, we will maintain control of your systems but take no hostile actions. When the day ends, we expect your answer. The transmission ended, leaving the Council members to consider their options. In Earth's command center, the mood was tense but hopeful. Hundreds of displays showed android feeds from across Council space. Everything was proceeding according to plan. What if they refuse? Asked General Lee. They won't, Han said confidently. They've grown too dependent on their technology. Without it, their empire collapses within days. President Choi looked thoughtful. This is only the beginning. If we succeed, we'll have changed the power structure of the entire galaxy. There will be consequences we can't predict. Dr. Bay nodded, including for the androids themselves. They're more than just machines now. Many have developed beyond their original programming. One problem at a time, Han said. First, let's make sure humanity survives. As they waited for the Council's response, screens across the command center showed images from throughout the galaxy. Worlds humanity had never seen before, alien cities, strange landscapes, and among them all, human-looking androids standing watch, their eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. The Council had demanded tribute. Instead, they got revolution. The day passed slowly as Earth waited for the Council's response. In cities around the world, people gathered in public places, watching giant screens that showed the Council chamber. Children stood with their parents, looking up at the strange, alien faces deciding their future. Every human on the planet knew what was at stake. In the underground command center, President Choi tried to remain calm. She had not slept in 30 hours, but there was no time for rest now. Admiral Han and the other leaders stayed by her side, monitoring the situation across Council space. 1 hour remaining until our deadline, Han reported. Dr. Bay approached with a concerned expression. We're detecting increased energy readings from several Council military bases. They may be trying to override our control. Can they succeed? Choi asked. No, Bay replied. But it shows they're still considering fighting back. The main screen suddenly activated, showing the Council chamber again. Supreme Counselor Vex stood at the center, his 4 eyes fixed on the camera. President Choi of Earth, he said, his voice formal but strained. The High Council requests additional time to consider your demands. Choi exchanged glances with Han before responding. Why do you need more time, Counselor Vex? Your terms are unprecedented, Vex replied. They would change the fundamental structure of galactic society. Such decisions cannot be made in a single day. You gave us 1 week to decide whether to surrender 800 million of our people. Choi reminded him. We are giving you 1 day to decide whether to accept peace on fair terms. Vex's blue skin darkened with what might have been anger. This is different. You cannot expect 500 years of Council tradition to change overnight. 500 years? Han said, stepping into view beside Choi. Our androids have accessed your historical records, Counselor. The tribute system is barely 200 years old. Before that, new species were welcomed as equals. Vex seemed startled by this knowledge. Our internal records are not your concern. They became our concern when you demanded our people, Choi said firmly. The deadline stands. You have 1 hour remaining. The transmission ended, leaving the council to their deliberations. They're stalling, General Lee said. They must have some plan to regain control. It doesn't matter, Han replied. Every minute they delay gives our androids more time to strengthen their position. They've already disabled several attempts to bypass our control. The final hour ticked away. Tension grew in the command center as officers monitored countless displays showing android feeds from across council space. Some council members appeared to be arguing fiercely in their chamber. Others sat in defeated silence. When the deadline arrived, the main screen activated again. This time, a different alien stood at the center of the council chamber. She was tall and elegant, with golden skin and 6 slender arms. Her name was High Elder Zara of the Tellurian Confederation, one of the oldest members of the council. President Choi, she said in a musical voice. The High Council has reached a decision. The room fell silent as everyone waited. We accept your terms, Zara announced. The tribute system will end immediately. All current tributes will be returned to their homeworlds. Earth will be granted a full seat on the council, and a new charter will be drafted prohibiting forced labor throughout council space. A cheer erupted in the command center. Officers hugged each other. Some wept with relief. President Choi maintained her composure, but a small smile appeared on her face. Thank you, High Elder, she said. Earth looks forward to working with the council as equals. Zara nodded. However, we have one condition of our own. Your androids must withdraw from our systems. We cannot function with another species controlling our infrastructure. Choi had expected this. We agree with our own condition. A joint commission will be established to monitor compliance with the new charter, and until all tributes have been returned home, our androids will remain in non-critical positions throughout council space as observers. Zara conferred briefly with other council members before responding. Acceptable. When can we expect your representative to join the council? I will send Admiral Han Tae as Earth's first counselor, Choi replied. He will arrive within 1 week to help draft the new charter. The transmission ended, and this time the celebration in the command center could not be contained. Earth had won, not through violence but through ingenuity and courage. 1 month later, Admiral Han stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned diplomatic vessel HSS Trojan as it approached the rebuilt council headquarters. The massive space station orbited a beautiful blue-green world that served as the capital of the Galactic Council. Dr. Bay joined him, watching as the impressive structure grew larger in the viewport. It's hard to believe how much has changed in just a few months. And how much is still changing, Han replied. 17 other species have already filed claims of mistreatment under the tribute system. The Council is facing the biggest reform in its history. What about the androids? Bay asked. Most of them have developed well beyond their original programming. Some are asking for recognition as sentient beings. That will be one of the first proposals I submit to the Council, Han said. They've earned the right to determine their own future. As the ship docked at the station, Han prepared to step into his new role as Earth's representative. The crew lined up to wish him well, including several androids who had chosen to continue serving alongside humans. You've changed the galaxy, Admiral, one of them said, an android who had once been in the first shipment sent to Council space. We all did, Han replied. Humans and androids together. On Earth, President Choi addressed the United Nations, explaining the new relationship with the Galactic Council. Screens showed images of other species whose tributes were being returned to their homeworlds. Many had suffered under the system for generations, and now they were free. Today marks a new chapter not just for humanity, but for all intelligent life in our galaxy, Choi said. We faced extinction and found not just survival, but a better way forward for everyone. In schools across Earth, children learned about the stars with new understanding. The universe was vast and filled with life, some friendly and some not. But humans had proven they belonged among the stars not through conquest or submission, but through creativity and determination. As Han prepared to enter the council chamber for the first time as Earth's representative, he thought about how it all began with a demand for tribute that had nearly led to humanity's enslavement. Instead, it had forced humans to create something new, something that changed the balance of power throughout the galaxy. "Are you ready, Counselor Han?" asked an aide. Han nodded. "Yes, it's time to build something better than what came before." The massive doors opened, revealing the circular chamber where representatives of 100 species waited to begin drafting a new future. Among them were former tribute species now taking their rightful places as equals. The council had demanded tribute. What Earth did next hadn't just shocked the stars, it had transformed